Good morning. I have already explained you about the water and electrolyte balance. Let me review briefly about the permeability of water and electrolytes through various compartments. You all know that the capillary endothelium is freely permeable to water and electrolytes, but the cell wall is not permeable to electrolytes, and this capillary endothelial wall is also not permeable to proteins because of their higher molecular weight. Now I will explain you about the pressure gradients and normal fluid exchange. The pressure gradients, before I will explain the pressures, I have already told you that water and electrolytes are freely exchanged between interstitial fluid and plasma. That means if the ECF is divided into two compartments, that is intravascular compartment and the interstitial fluid compartment. So between these two compartments, water and electrolytes are freely exchanged through capillary endothelium. The extracellular fluid which is present inside the vessel, they contain colloids, that means proteins, which minimally cross the capillary wall. So these substances exert pressures responsible for exchange between the interstitial fluid and plasma. Now let us see this figure. I will explain one by one about the various pressures. So first pressure is the osmotic pressure. So this is the pressure exerted by the chemical constituents of the body fluids. So accordingly, the osmotic pressure may be divided into two types. First is the crystalloid osmotic pressure. This crystalloid osmotic pressure is exerted by the electrolytes present in the extracellular fluid compartment, and it comprises the major portion of the total osmotic pressure. That means the pressure exerted by the electrolytes contains the major portion of the total osmotic pressure. Then next is the colloid osmotic pressure. Colloid osmotic pressure is exerted by the protein present in the plasma, and though it constitutes a small part of the total osmotic pressure, but it is physiologically having more significance because the protein content of the plasma is higher than the interstitial fluid. So oncotic pressure of plasma is higher. You can see in the figure the oncotic pressure, osmotic pressure exerted by protein is higher inside the vessel because protein content is here more than the protein content of the interstitial fluid. So osmotic pressure exerted by the protein is 25 mm of mercury inside the vessel, and outside the vessel in the interstitial fluid it is 8 millimeter of mercury. Average is the 8 millimeter of mercury. So then both forces are opposing because this osmotic pressure will tend to draw fluid inside the vessel, and this osmotic pressure will tend to draw towards the outside the vessel because it is protein present in the interstitial fluid. So what is the effective osmotic pressure? Effective osmotic pressure is the difference between the higher osmotic pressure of the plasma and osmotic pressure of the interstitial fluid. So here the effective osmotic pressure, where the maximum pressure is here, so you just subtract this 25 minus 8, so 17 mm of pressure is the effective osmotic pressure inside the vessel. So this force tend to draw fluid into the vessel. Remember this. The osmotic pressure, the effective osmotic pressure, that is the osmotic pressure of the plasma, which tend to draw fluid inside the vessel. So this is all about the oncotic pressure. Now coming to hydrostatic pressure. We call it also as a capillary blood pressure. So this pressure, there is a considerable variation of capillary hydrostatic pressure at arteriolar end and venular end. Because arteriolar end, the heart is pumping blood through the arteries, so at the arterial end the pressure will be more than the venular end. So higher at the hydrostatic pressure is higher at the arteriolar end than the venular end. At the arterial end it is 32 mm of mercury, and at the venular end it is 12 mm of mercury. So there is pressure difference. Here it is 32 mm mercury, and here at the venular end the hydrostatic pressure is the 12 mm of mercury. So then another pressure is tissue tension, the hydrostatic pressure of the fluid present in the tissue. That is, we call it as, in another word, we can call it as tissue tension or hydrostatic pressure of interstitial fluid. Then what is the effective hydrostatic pressure? So effective hydrostatic pressure is naturally the difference between the hydrostatic pressure in capillary end and the tissue tension of the interstitial fluid and the effective pressure. Effective pressure is the force that drives the fluid through the capillary wall into interstitial space. Here you can see here 32 minus 4, so 28 mm of Hg the hydrostatic pressure which drives the fluid through the capillary wall outside the vessel. Osmotic pressure draws fluid into the vessel, and hydrostatic pressure drives the fluid out of the vessel into the interstitial space. I think now you are clear about these two pressure, osmotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure. Now come to the normal fluid exchange. In the same figure I will explain here. So normally the fluid exchange between the various body compartment by the balance between the effective hydrostatic pressure and effective oncotic pressure. So first we see at the arteriolar end of the capillary what is the effective pressure? The balance between hydrostatic pressure and osmotic pressure. So what is the main pressure here at the arteriolar end? So 32 minus 25, that is 7 mm of Hg hydrostatic pressure. Because hydrostatic pressure drives the fluid out of the vessel, so here on 7 mm Hg of pressure will drive the fluid outside the vessel into the interstitial tissue space, so that small quantity of fluid and the nutrients they come into the interstitial tissue space for the utilization of the cell. You can understand this because arteriolar end the nutrients are coming, so by effective hydrostatic pressure of 7 mm Hg the fluid comes out of the vessel along with some solutes nutritional substances that enter the interstitial tissue space for the utilization of the cell. Now at the venular end, you see here at the venular end the balance between hydrostatic pressure and osmotic pressure. So you subtract this, then what will be the effective pressure? Here at the venular end, the effective pressure is the osmotic pressure of 13 millimeter of mercury, which is the inward driving force, so that the fluids and the waste products, which is the metabolic product by the cells, that enter into the vessel and goes to the heart and go to the lungs and then purified, and all the things happen, you know all very well. So at the arterial end, the effective pressure is the hydrostatic pressure, and at the venular end, the effective pressure is the osmotic pressure. So at the arterial end, the fluid and nutrition comes out, and at the venular end, the fluids and metabolic waste products goes in. Now the tissue fluid, after this there are some tissue fluid left after this normal exchange, which across the capillary wall they escape into lymphatics, and from lymphatics they finally drain into venous circulation. Then what about the tissue tension and osmotic pressure of interstitial fluid? These combined are called tissue factors. So osmotic pressure of interstitial fluid and tissue tension, that is hydrostatic pressure, these are normally small, that is 4 mm of Hg and 8 mm of mercury, and they are the insignificant forces opposing the plasma osmotic pressure and capillary hydrostatic pressure respectively. But you might have some questions might have come to your mind. If the fluid comes out at the arterial end and goes in into the venular end, then from where the fluid comes, which is drained by the lymphatics? There may be some question in your mind, I think so. Because the fluid is coming out at the arterial end and goes into the venular end. Then from where the rest fluid comes, which is drained by the lymphatics? This can be explained by simple mathematics. You can see here, though these hydrostatic pressure of interstitial fluid is insignificant, but still then it opposes. So here the hydrostatic pressure is 32 minus 4, the effective HP is 28 mm of Hg. Then what is the effective osmotic pressure? That is 25 mm minus 8 mm Hg, that is 17 mm of Hg. So effective osmotic pressure is 17, effective hydrostatic pressure is 28 mm of mercury. So final effective pressure is the hydrostatic pressure 28 minus 7. So the effective hydrostatic pressure is 11 millimeter of mercury. So at the 11 millimeter of mercury, the fluid comes out of the vessel. Here come to venular end. Here the effective hydrostatic pressure is 8 mm Hg. 12 minus 4, 8 mm Hg, and effective oncotic pressure is the same, 17 mm Hg. So 17 minus 8, 9 mm of Hg is the oncotic pressure. So fluid comes out at the pressure of 11 mm of Hg and goes in at the pressure of 9 mm of Hg. So some fluid will be remain, because 11 by pressure of 11 it is coming out, and by pressure of 9 it is going in. So whole fluid will not go into the venular end. So there will be some fluid remain in the interstitial tissue space, which is drained by the lymphatics. So there is no edema at all normally, because of this mechanism, inherent homeostasis of the body, by which the normal fluid exchange takes place, and there is no accumulation of fluid in the interstitial tissue space causing edema. So in the normal there is no edema at all in any part of the body. So in the next class I will explain you the definition of edema, how it is defined, and what are the pathogenesis of edema, which is based on these fundamentals of pressures, that is hydrostatic pressure, osmotic pressure. So we will discuss in detail in the next class. Thank you.